Okay, all right. It has been a while, so welcome back to everyone. Um, The Between Stars and Suns, Season 2, Episode 22. So, unfortunately, we're going to be missing Ernest's character again tonight, so it's just going to be the three players to try and deal with, I believe, the King in Shadows. And how did you summarize that, Mike, in terms of like the solution or the resolution that you guys are going to carry out?
We are going to mess up the play by setting up John as our Knight of Light and commit, quote, light atrocities, end quote, for the greater good. I think that involved me killing an innocent because I did mark that mask. Uh, and Liat was probably going to do something horrible too, but who knows? Uh, and then we were going to make a beeline for the Beast's Den, given that both of these threats are taking place in the Fragrant Void.
So, given that we've finished everything for Dusk Phase except for me mentioning what the unseen was going to be, and for tonight I picked out, excuse me, for Night Phase I picked out the Empire Club. So, paint the scene is going to be for everyone. First prompt is going to go to Jack. Second prompt is going to go to Mike. Last prompt is going to go to Chaotic. All right. And just like every other time, even though you've kind of put the plans into motion or at least out on the board, that doesn't necessarily mean somebody isn't going to go completely AWOL and, go off piste. So, hey, this is season 2. Let's just go for it and see what happens because that's pretty much how we've been doing it. Alrighty. Any preparations before we get started with night phase? Because I just want to make sure that whatever anybody wants to do, whatever anybody wants to say to each other, just go ahead and do it right now. Before we enter into a full night phase, because this is it's gonna be rocking.
Well, out of
Well,
character
Yeah,
is uh is the plan for all of us to go together, and then is Atticus planning on leaving to go find the beast, or are we just sort of
that's my
riding
question.
at the beast?
I have a condition called I have seen it, chorus roll. So I am bound to engage with the King in Shadows tonight. Given that we do not have an explorer, I don't believe we'll be able to engage with both threats tonight. So as much as it kills Atticus, I
Well,
am bound to fight the King in Shadows. I'm also bloodthirsty and have my advantage on my first roll. So we'll see how that goes.
I mean, the only reason you were able to do it last time, or like you should say last season, once, twice, whatever, was because that there happened to be an NPC that happened to be an explorer. So, I mean, I don't know. Did you engage in this universe's Lady Edwina? Who the hell knows?
No.
So, anyway, okay. So, in that case,
Unless
who
Georgie
knows?
shows up and is like, hey, let me do you a solid. No.
Is he still friends with the Royal Explorers Club? That's an interesting question.
Didn't he kill one of them, or one of them
No.
die?
Nope.
Nope.
Hmm. Maybe I'm just giving Mads ideas.
Uh, like in terms of like unfriendliness, like it's mostly towards Hargrave House, I think, because of like John like accidentally letting Georgie inside the house. So and just being like, oh, oh no, what have I done? So,
Well, I mean, yeah, you invited him in, didn't you?
mhm.
Didn't you? Huh. Gotta let that come back. All right, great. Fabulous. Okay. Anything anybody's got to say to each other, like, before we get started, because this is gonna be weird. All right.
Mhm.
Okay. So, oh, but we never really did answer Jack's question. Is everybody going together? And you don't have to, or are you gonna do something separately? Because that's fine too. I mean, I'm always ready to indulge. Um,
Like
because
John has like the leading role in this sort of plan with the King in Shadows, like so he has to go with that. But I'm not sure if Liat has to go with that because like I don't exactly remember her role in all of this.
Empress. But also too, I mean, like, Liat also took Cosmic Passage last time, and so that has some wonderful benefits for the undeniable. Um,
I did.
you
Mhm.
did.
Yeah.
Instead of taking a regular Mask of the Past or Future, you took, well, I should say you took Cosmic Passage.
Oh, I did, didn't I? I guess I did.
So again, that is up to you.
I won't visit it tonight. I mean, I do love a play, so I will, if nothing else, be in the audience.
Okay. Alrighty. We'll see how this goes. All right. So, the Empire Club. The Empire Club is situated in a grand townhouse just off St. James's Square. Membership is popular among young aristocratic sons of lower birth order, many of whom have traveled to or profit from holdings abroad. Select invitations have been granted to those of less esteemed breeding who have managed to make their mark and a small fortune overseas. It boasts card games till the early hours of the morning, cooks from the four corners of the world, and plentiful bedrooms for those far from home or avoiding their family. Tall tales and business deals alike are shared over brandy and cigars. Paint the scene, and this is for everyone. Beyond the wood-paneled walls and leather armchairs, what signs of masculinity and power are on display here? And because King in Shadows is still in play, how does reality subtly distort in the background?
There are sort of, especially like in the what it's called, the molding of the wall of the ceiling, the crown molding, but also in like these little alcoves in the walls. There are lots of these sort of brass sculptures in the Grecian style of like satyrs, and they're all very kind of muscular and very what's the word I want to use? Um, Very at attention, engorged, if you will. Um, but we see that these statues of these satyrs, these faun, uh, they flex and they bounce their pecs a bit as we move through the room.
Animal heads mounted on the walls, various beasts from different hunts, conquests of the hunt. Uh, However, as the camera pans over them, we see that a couple of them are whispering to each other, making tiny comments and snide remarks about the hunters that did kill them and their insecurities therein.
I don't have anything to add.
Fair enough. All right. So, so as far as I understand it, then we have everybody pretty much going over to the Society Obscura to take in the play and possibly take their places within the play to, well, hopefully wreak havoc upon the King in Shadow's reign over London. So let's see that. Let's see that happen. But I'm going to set the scene as you are at the Society Obscura. And even more so now than before, I think you see the tendrils of the larger sigil that has been seen throughout London and that has been talked about and whispered about among the populace that has watched this play. You see it looming on the sides, along the building itself of the society, obscuring it in the darkness of this particular night. And when you approach, the audience is still enthused, but you hear and feel an intensity that has just been more magnified than ever before. This is essentially what would be considered the last night of the play before the King in Shadows will make his reign known over all. So, paint the scene on this one. What does your character feel in this moment, in the approach, seeing the sigil, signs of the sigil and of the play itself among the audience and the building and the environs, that sends a shiver through your spine, knowing that if you don't take care of this now, it's not going to stop? What sends a shiver through your spine?
I think as everyone's filing in, Liat's, I don't think she's in the play. If she was, I don't remember her role, but I think she's just going to sit this out, being a casual observer. But as she dressed in this sort of as a counter to the darkness, everyone I imagine here is dressed in dark clothing, but she's in a sort of all white embroidered number with gold and silver embroidery and coins sort of fixed in her headdress and draping off of her shoulders and cascading down her train. And I imagine she has like a low cut V all the way down the front of her torso, with these different sort of sigils painted on her stomach and her chest as sort of like warding spells. But as she and Abdurrahman take their seats, I think that there's a moment where she's sort of scanning the audience, and in the wings of the makeshift stage that they've created, she sees a blonde woman. She's dressed the same way that she saw her dressed that night, and she's just as damp and bloated and pale as she would have been had she fished her body out of the river. But she sees her for a moment and blinks, sort of trying to block out the image, but she opens her eyes and the specter of her lover is gone, but still has her hackles up, and she's ready to get this play over with.
Atticus, having snuck backstage and gotten into costume, peeks out at the audience and sees among all the gentry and the low-born attendees, there are children who are celebrating a night at the theater, and some of their faces and voices have already begun to distort from the King in Shadow's influence. And it just kind of drives home the fact that Atticus cannot just burn down the building and ruin the play that way. It has to be more subtle.
I think John has stepped away. We're just going to move on to the actual performance itself. So, as before, the performance begins. You've seen it before. You've taken it in. And perhaps it is something that is seen a little differently this time as Act 1 begins that may give John a shiver of, this has to be stopped now. John, is there anything that you see or feel that really hones in on that thought that this must be stopped?
Yeah, it's just there's not words for it. There's never words for it. For when the end is about to happen.
Female life, excuse me, the day-to-day life of the female protagonist rolls on. And then there are news, of course, that the 3 immediately family members, the mother, the father, and the brother, have all been killed in a bizarre fishing accident, with the Greek-style chorus piping behind these actions and narrating the story. But it's changed now. They're more insistent. They're more sinister. The masks somehow have distorted to the point where they are going beyond just the faces of these people that are in the chorus. They seem larger now, more misshapen. And the darkness behind them, of the curtains, the velvet curtains, seems to shift and undulate, whereas they used to be just curtains behind them. Now there's much shifting in the background. What do you guys do? Watching or participating?
I think Atticus would step out of the group of the chorus and go off script saying, "Your time now has come," to the female protagonist, and he will draw the burden to slay her on stage.
I don't think John knows what to do. He's on stage. This role of performing knights in shining armor. I don't think he ever considered that in his heart of hearts that he is a coward. That he would not stand against his own compatriots. That he would watch an innocent woman just get murdered. Just for not even for the sake of everyone. Just because the play could have been ruined in other ways. The play could have just stolen her away, forced her somewhere else, just locked her into a closet or anything else. And I think at this moment, John has stage fright, effectively. And so he does nothing.
I mean, like I had mentioned before, she's in the audience. I think she's sort of seated back in her chair. She looks at John curiously. What is John wearing? Like, how do we dress him for the night, for the play?
I think just to quote unquote infiltrate the play of like the knights, like I think like he does like have like the armor of the knights, like of just like sort of um like some metal on him, but it's being covered like this brown like rags and whatnot, so he looks like a dejected beggar to like offer the journeying woman some advice while traveling down into the underworld. And like at this moment he could reveal his role and save her, but he's not doing that.
And I
The
think
pl-
then that Liat stands up and calls out directly to John. What are you doing? You have a role to play. Now play it. Stand up.
eh. But there's nothing to be done. I think at this point I need to make a roll because this is something I'm afraid of.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, night move, or I automatically want to say ruin, but that's not it. Yeah, night move, please. I feel like this is risking John's mind, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, he's either going to fall into the trap of like being sucked into the play because of, what's the word? Reticence,
Mm-hmm.
or he's going to be going against himself because I mean, do you feel like he wants to save the woman? Or because it's Atticus, he doesn't want to move against his companion?
I think either way, like, because the night move says, like, I say what I'm afraid of most about what's going to happen. I think I'm afraid of if I go through with it, I'm going to disappoint Sir Atticus, and that's horrendous. If I don't go through with it, I'm going to disappoint Liat, and she's going to fuck up Hargrave House because of it.
Oh my God, rock and hard place? What? Shit. Yeah. How is it worse? Oh, yeah. Um, hmm. I think something of the production of the play is going to take advantage of your inaction and possibly take advantage of you as you are hesitating. That's how it's worse.
Mhm.
Sensitivity, because we're dripping with sensitivity here.
Mhm. Spooky, spooky.
Spooky, spooky.
No. Okay, that is a 6.
Okay, so here's what's gonna happen. Ugh. It is only Act 1, but yet everything is reacting as if we're nearing the climax of the play. So as Sir Atticus pulls out the sword to slay the journeywoman on stage, and Liat tries to berate John into action, I think from behind you, from behind the Greek style chorus, comes a shadow that looms large, like some kind of winged creature, and you may even hear like the flap of some kind of wings, as a skeletal, bony mask with antlers and a thorn crown comes out amazingly behind you, John, and lifts the mask crown from his face and will put it on your head and lean down and whisper in your ear, "Welcome to this dark side as you are absorbed into me and become one with the sides that are conflicting in you."
I would like to put on a mask, please.
Which mask?
Um, uh, my mask of the past. I will note that that the threat mask is still available. So
Oh, yes, if you'd like to use the mask of dissociation, I'm happy for you to do that, but
Oh.
everybody gets to do it.
yeah, I'm saving that for Sir Atticus.
Yes. Yes. Something that he can use. Sure.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So John, Mask of the Past. Perfect. All right, we can save that for the end. All right. So that brings you to 729. You succeed in figuring out what to do?
Yeah, effectively, I think with Liat cajoling him from the crowd, I think like he just almost stumbles into his role effectively,
Yeah.
and stepping in between. I think with if Saracus will allow me, I think the burden comes down, but Saracus is very controlled. He would not strike his own companions. Um, on most days. This may be a little bit of too close of a call, honestly speaking, but the clothes, the sort of the ragged, like brown over like rags and whatnot, they get destroyed in the process, revealing the knights in shining armor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna say, because of the way that Atticus was bringing the sword down, I think, and even with you stumbling into him and then like cutting away at your overlay to reveal the knight, I think that maybe it comes down a little bit too hard, and I don't want to say it's broken, but it's sprained, like your shoulder maybe um, knocked, a bit disjointed, dislocated.
Dislocated.
Yeah, because I mean, like, of the way you stumbled into him, but also too you were, he was trying to come down hard. I mean, I think you knocked the journeywoman out of the way though, so she's like now she's screaming. Now it's like, no, get away from me, get away from me! And so you're already being disruptive. It's great. So let's go on to Unseen 2. Jack, a boisterous game of cards, is played by some of the young bucks. Amidst the bluff and bluster, how do we see the differences between those with great wealth and noble blood, and those with only one or the other? And of course, King in Shadows says, how does reality subtly distort in this background?
At one table, we see a group of young men playing, and it's a very heated, lively game. But only a couple of the men are smoking finer cigars. The rest are just kind of smoking rolled up cigarettes. The ones who are smoking the cigars have their beautiful pressed and tailored suits on, while the other men are wearing suits that could be, well, they could be more fitted. They could be of more fashionable textiles, but they're not. And as much as they try, they they put the pomade in their hair and they try to freshen themselves up enough to fit in with these people. But we know that the ones at the table who are from better means, they know that they're not fooling them. Because they're the real deal. They're the ones who can afford those fine suits from Savile Row and can afford the good pomade that keeps the hair down. But it's oddly enough that despite their wealth and their means, they aren't the best card players. They do this to pass the time, for sport. They've never had the patience or discipline to really learn the game as well as these lower class gentlemen. But there's a moment where one of the lower class gentlemen, after a few hands are exchanged, lays down a full house. And as he's displaying the cards, we see that one of them is the king. The king isn't the king like the other cards, it is not drawn in the same style as the others. This one has crude red symbols etched all over it. It looks as if the king is diabolical. It's grimacing, its teeth are bared, and we see fangs coming out of its mouth, and its hand is wielding the sword, isn't going through its own head, but it's going through the neck of another. It looks like some horribly designed tarot card, but it's not. It's the same size as the other playing cards. And seeing this card that looks so different, the wealthier gentlemen accuse the young men of cheating. This is clearly a con. This is a card they put in. And so they take the young man, and a fight starts to ensue. Of course, this is a gentleman's club, and gentlemen don't fight, at least not in this club. And so whatever counts for security here tries their best to break it up. But the younger, less wealthy gentlemen who did win, at least thought they won, are kicked out to the street. No more wealthier than they started. And now their out of fashion suits are stained with the mud of the cobblestone, and they're sort of the material itself isn't thick enough to keep the chill out from the night, and so they go about their way angry and frustrated, wondering who put that card in, arguing amongst themselves, trying to figure out what happened.
Liat, you see the chaos beginning on the stage. You see John stumble into Atticus, who then brings down the sword hard on John's shoulder. Maybe you even hear like a slight audible pop as well, maybe not, because the journeywoman's screaming now and then, like, trying to get away from Atticus with the sword. And then for some reason, the Greek chorus keeps piping on, keeps saying, like, what it's going to be, and leading into the next act, which changes the scenery, changes the curtains where they part, or I should say, like, draw away as if by their own volition, undulating out of the way, as the lighting, which was supposed to infer like a river ride, like water, has now turned into stranger colors of sickly green and dead blue, and the undulations of water that were hinted at in the lighting are now as if there are spirits within the background as the journeywoman travels to the underworld with the boatman. What do you do, Liat, seeing this change?
I think she finally sits down, appeased that there's finally some action going on. And she sort of reclines, waiting to see what comes next, how they play it out. But I think she's always sort of glancing at the wings just to make sure that she doesn't see Guinevere again.
I think in your ear, you can see peripherally that there are people next to you, in front of you, and, obviously behind, watching the show raptly, but I think you hear in your ear, imagine. Can you imagine? Have you, in your long life, enjoyed the sight of traversing to the underworld? What that must be like to take that journey? You who have escaped it for so long.
Is that directed at Liat or?
That's right in your ear.
Oh. She stiffens up a bit and says, "Begone, Spectre. This is not your night. I'm trying to watch a play."
Just having some critical commentary for the audience. Atticus, what do you do as John stumbles into you and then the scene changes?
I think as the strike does not hit home, Atticus kind of stumbles backward into the chorus and just joins the formation again. The intonation progressing the plot. It's sort of when everyone around you is singing a song and you may not know the words, but you kind of just you vocalize along with them. Atticus is driven to do that. And I do not think that Atticus enjoys that. I believe Atticus denied a kill, denied blood, denied the opportunity to end this play in one strike, wishes to lash out against the thing that seems to be pushing it forward, the chorus around him.
And what do you do to do that?
Well, I drew a sword and no one took it away from me, and I am surrounded by targets. So I would like to strike out against the chorus that is around me, very much like that like group of bandits that attacked John and myself a couple of nights ago.
Is that what he's seeing? Or is he still aware that he is in the middle of this play with these chorus members piping the narration around him?
He is still aware that he is on stage in a play, but that awareness is slipping away, and he knows that he needs to strike now or join in the chorus.
Uh-huh. Okay. So I'm definitely going to call this a night move.
Mm-hmm. I believe
What are your
I've stated what I'm afraid of.
Yeah. Mm. Oh man, I don't know if this is worse though.
What? Come on, hit me.
I think as you are laying out the bodies, I guess, of these chorus members around you with the burden, which may seem heavier and heavier as you wield it.
Because it's
And
not what a
strike
chorus
people
member is
down.
supposed to do.
But I think blood calls to blood.
Hmm.
Remember where you are.
So there's a concern that the Duke of Blood shows up and it's not friendly? Okay. All right. I will do you one better.
Okay.
I think the Duke of Blood does show up, like, oh, you guys are in the neighborhood, and then the beast attacks.
Oh, much more fun. Sure.
Because I am bloodthirsty due to channeling the beast.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can totally see that, which could just make it even more chaotic, which I love. So, go for it, please. Oh my god.
just for a point of clarification, given the nature of the chorus right now as being supernaturally possessed, motivated, everything else, would we count them as being supernatural in nature at this moment?
Everything's sensitivity right now because I mean, like, this is the environs of whatever. Go ahead.
A hunter's life specifies that if I am engaging in physical combat with a supernatural creature, it is always vitality.
Okay.
So it's vitality. All right.
Yep.
I have advantage because I've cosmic passage.
Okay.
However, I have bloodthirsty and I have seen it. So would that bring it down to a normal roll?
Normal roll.
Normal roll. Okay. Do I have anything in my kit that will help me take care of? I do.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to mark off. I reach into my coat and I pull out some knuckle dusters stained inextricably with blood from my time in Bout Club. I have
hold
fought.
on there.
Oh,
What?
There's a bit of a rules clarification here because technically once you gain advantage, which is negated by the disadvantage, you cannot gain advantage again.
really?
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's no double advantage in this game. There is in other games, but not this one.
Okay, not this one. Other games like other Carved in Brindlewood, or other games like
other games that like
games that exist.
Other games in Carved from Brindlewood, specifically the Silvers, which actually calls out the double advantage.
Okay, cool. Then I'm just rolling baseline. Let's go.
Let's go. Vitality.
Heck yeah. First roll of the new year, 6 plus a 5 plus 3 brings me to a 14 on a night move.
Okay.
Do we get a bonus credit for that? Do what you intended, and the keeper will tell you some extra benefit or advantage you receive. Can the Duke of Blood show up to help us crash this party just on a friendly side now?
Okay. All right. Okay. Sure.
So I, as I said, just hit the little switch that turns it into Ivy's like whip sword and just become a storm of blood and metal and there is no more course. There is only Atticus who can stand by and tell the story as it should be told.
Unfortunately, I don't have my scarf handy, but I think you'll get the idea when I say that the pool of blood that you are settled in at the moment starts to move and ripple around you, and then you see it come together and form a pillar shaped like a person, and then the blood washes down, and then there is the Duke of Blood in her gray leathers splattered with blood, and her cowl and her fingerless gloves. Oh, so oh, this is quite the party you've called me to. To what do I owe the pleasure?
Atticus takes a deep breath, hits the switch that returns it back to a sword again, and looks at her, eyes clear. Sidebar, I would like to also trigger Soaked in Blood, given that I just pureed a group of villains so I can clear my conditions.
Sure.
Okay. Would you say that I have seen it as a psychological thing because it is forcing me to participate, or is it a supernatural thing I cannot clear?
Trying to remember the nature of the sigil. But I've seen it. Condition experiences hallucinations with increasing frequency, usually involving the occluded king, beckoning them deeper down the path of darkness. Could say supernatural.
Okay.
Because I mean, like, yeah, it's
So
really
I'm-
tied into the occluded king.
So,
Yeah.
as I'm the only chorus member standing, I will grin and narrate. And so a Duke of the Underworld appeared to visit upon those who would dare enter her realm without payment, without care. And she sought to do justice upon them and bar the invaders' way.
Well, what a way to introduce me. But I think you've done all of the effort yourself. Fine effort, I must say. And then with that, let's head. Oh, well, okay. So before we do, John, upon seeing this, but I mean, of course, dealing with a dislocated shoulder, what are you doing?
I think this play has gone totally off kilter, but we need to get to the end of it. Like it needs to be finished performing. I think the person who was playing the journey woman ran off stage, honestly speaking.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So she's no longer in it. So I guess I am taking on the journey woman, I guess. And I'm quote unquote hopping into the boat without payment. So yeah, I'm just getting into danger.
I mean, and the boatman continues to
Mm.
tell you what's happening, as if like you and the journey woman swapped are the same thing, which to him it might be.
Mhm.
You might be. All right. So next prompt, Mike. Two older gentlemen, Sir Mortimer Holland and Colonel Bulstrode, grumble about the lax morals and deficient work ethic of the younger generation. What complaints do they make, and how do we see their envy for their youth? And of course, how does reality subtly distort in the background?
I think we hear a high-pitched squeal of delight. Get away! As a young lady runs by scantily clad, chased by a young man. It's quite obvious what's going on here. Sir Mortimer looks over. Absolutely disreputable, wouldn't you say, Bulstrode? Yes, very quite. There's no sense of decorum. back in my day, we used to actually court the ladies and would feed them proper dignity. And he misspeaks as he is eating a very plain salad with no dressing. And he eyes the table where the gentlemen were playing cards and the various snacks and foods and drinks, and then back to his salad with the plain water. And they used to have proper diets too. We would have to go across the oceans, and we would have to be of proper hale health. These gentlemen don't care very much for their bodies, their cleanliness, none of that. Yes, it's quite sad, especially since they're all busy with industrial means, actual effort, not a proper gentleman's way of making their way. And we see that Sir Mortimer will adjust a coat that is perhaps a few seasons out of date, like the fine gentlemen who are also thrown out, who, despite his decorum, despite his posture, may not be quite as high and mighty as he would assume. And the two just go back and forth, just needling each other and the young men about for numerous issues. And I think while they're doing this, we see two figures dressed all in black that are adjusting things on their table, and just feeding them more things to commentate on, sort of like unseen stagehands that are just feeding into this conflict and just making their lives miserable.
Right. John, the boatman continues to tell you and makes as if he is rowing you to find the occluded king. And I think this is where the scene shifts again, as if the lights have been snuffed out and then the curtains have not been pulled together again, but as if the curtains themselves are high and tall, but undulating shadows that move themselves into place as you and the boatman find yourselves in this darkened alley, perhaps. And there are no more chorus members to narrate what is going on. So you only hear the boatman's intonations as he proceeds to say the poetic introduction of each of the courtiers of the occluded king and begins to introduce them into this final act, each in their own bizarre way, which now is even stranger than it was before. This is no longer the usual third act of the play. What about this slow introduction of the Duchess starts to terrify you?
Is this for everybody or?
I'm curious to hear what John sees that
Okay, got
terrifies
it.
him. Yeah.
The titles, they don't matter anymore. They are just references to creatures of yore.
Did you mean to
There.
rhyme?
Yes.
Okay.
The play expands to ends of the earth. The Duchess, she climbs out of the hearth, burning with rage, burning with fire, lights. Will Hargrave House survive this night?
The Duchess is slowly making her entrance in. And maybe it is not the figure that you had seen before in the previous iterations of the play. Maybe it is something quite different now. I think the Duke of Blood looks around upon hearing Duchess and just kind of like, and stares at this place, this stage which has transformed itself. And you do know how to find your way into trouble, don't you? What is this?
Am I allowed to speak freely, given that or am I free of the chorus role, or do I need to continue to speak in iambic pentameter?
I'm asking you out of character. What do you think, as he has fulfilled at least his bloodthirsty condition? Do you think he's broken out of it, or you think he's like, still entrenched in this role?
I think even though the boatman and our journeywoman, quote unquote, are off stage at this point, there's still an audience, so the play is theoretically still happening. So I think at this point it's up to the Duke and I to entertain. So if that's the case, invaders from afar, from a society most obscure, hath created a ritual that is quite peculiar. Atticus finding that without the rest of the chorus to cover his lack of poetry, he is struggling.
You have never been this formal or this awkward before. You must be under some sort of spell. Let me see if I can take care of that. So I think she's going to, make some gestures, and then the blood that is remaining on the stage, I think she's going to essentially call it and sheathe you with it to see if she can kind of seep some sense into you, I guess. So she's trying to help, but this is how she helps. So night move, please.
Resist to drowning in blood? Question
Yeah.
mark? Okay.
Yeah, if that's what you think could go wrong.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Atticus would like to avoid being taken out from this help, end quote. Oh, that's not good. That's a 3 on the dice, plus a 3 from vitality is a 6. I'm gonna take advantage of that thing that Chaotic so kindly mentioned before. How about we use that mask of disassociation so that Atticus can disassociate from drowning in a bunch of blood.
Sounds good. Give me a second.
Perfect.
Oh my god, let me
Thank you, Chaotic. You knew this would happen.
He knew. Oh my gosh.
I felt it in my bones.
Good dog.
All right, mask of dissociation. Each hunter narrates a time they felt like a stranger in their own body. That seems rather fitting for this particular situation. You are back up to 7 to 9. So you succeed in doing what you need to do, which is, well, not drowning in it, not being suffocated by it, but before I go over to Liat, just tell me what it feels like to be suffused with blood that has been given motion and action from the void.
Well, I mean, she's pissed because she's wearing all white. She's very upset, and I think that she's standing up and she's barking at John to get on with it. And she's looking very perturbed. And I think Abdurrahman is like doing his best to sort of like blot away whatever he can, but he realizes it's futile.
Oh, I didn't realize like Liat was that close. Is it definitely one of those one of those Gallagher situations? Like where she
Liat
gets
was in the splash zone.
I mean,
splashback.
I imagine the splash zone was everywhere because it's the Duke of Blood.
That's true. That's true.
I imagine the entire audience is covered in blood at this point. It's like Adam's Family with the play.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but
Best scene ever, but anyway.
yeah. But that's what I'm picturing. So yes, she's very perturbed that her couture is now sullied by all this blood. And I think she's just sort of like barking orders at John and scowling at Sir Atticus to get it on, to get not to get it on. I mean, I know who the Duke looks like, but no, to get on with it.
Mhm, mhm.
Heck of a Freudian slip there.
I think then too, just because I think she's so impatient, I
Mhm.
think she'll when Abdurrahman sort of blotting away, and she'll just sort of push past him and like get into the aisle and stomp on the stage. And I think in her hand is that crown that we have, the ichor and blood covered one.
Mhm.
And I think she just goes up to John, looks at him, says, "Take this. Now do what needs to be done. Stop sniveling."
John puts the crown on.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh. Hmm. Oh my gosh.
Something bad is going to happen with that.
Yeah, I think as Liat, as you are watching, and then as the Duke of Blood is finishing her treatment of Sir Atticus, I think as John puts the crown on, there is a thrumming sound that happens. I cannot remember the name of this effect in movies, but I mean like it's just kind of like a like kind of like a that bass, you know, boom, but it's not like it's not felt, but it's visceral, and it just kind of spreads. And John, as you put the crown on, tell me what it's like to be floating in the King in Shadow's consciousness.
John has been a surgeon for many years now. He has put his hands in sort of all sorts of bodies and all sorts of matter. He has dug out bullets in the skulls of brains, and he's this sort of sensation of floating not only with through space, but into sort of a warm, almost it feels fleshy at times. Is this is this what a bullet feels like inside a brain? Is there this sort of comfort here between the folds of thoughts?
You feel it uncomfortably grind against your own consciousness. So, Liat, I think as you have stomped up onto the stage to get John to put on the crown, I think what you see is that once John puts on the crown, that his visage changes. It's almost like he becomes devoid of color, like the ichor has seeped down from the crown and into his form, just as the Duke of Blood's blood spatters like seeping into many different things around here. But in this case, it is almost as if the ichor has spread and is starting to feed off of John. Well, John, you are in some kind of. It can almost be comforting, perhaps. It's almost like being surrounded by some kind of viscous shell that kind of moves with you. But you are in the middle of it. You are in the middle of this consciousness that you know is not your own. And it is the occluded king that surrounds you and is trying to get in. And Sir Atticus, I think as you are dealing with this, or, the Duke of Blood slowly releases you and then sees you and then is pleased to see that you almost have come to your senses. I think her eyes widen and she sees something behind you and she growls. The Fae. And she will dive down into the blood pool, and the blood pool surges like a wave towards one of the windows here in the society. And I think when you turn around, you'll see the silhouette of Tommy at the window. And she's surging towards it. And, so, Liat, I think as you look beyond John, I think you'll see a rather soaked figure with straggly, wet, blonde hair and wearing the clothes that she wore that night. And she looks at you with those clouded sclera and perhaps swollen visage, and her watery mouth opens and burbles. Why?
She grits her teeth and I think she mutters quietly to herself in a dead language, probably Aramaic, the equivalent of "stop it, go away." But she looks to John, keeping her eyes like focused, like intently on him, and says, "You are the knight of light. Clean this place, purge it of the darkness."
John, do you think you hear her?
I am so very far away. But I think I hear something else, something in the dark, telling me to keep it a secret, to keep it all secret, keep it hidden in the dark. It's so necessary. They won't. They would hate you for it if you told them. Must keep it a secret. But John remembers the plan. A night of light. A night of honesty. A night of truth. A revelation should set you free. And I think Liat back in the real world, question mark? You hear John start to try to talk to you. Just mumbling. There's a basement in Hargrave House. I've stolen body parts. I have no faith in God. This world has no gods. There's only silence. Science. And we can control death if we just knew a little bit more, if we just experimented a little bit more. I am a knight of light. I am a knight of life, and death shall not conquer this world.
She wouldn't admit it, but there's a sense of pride that there's a sense of him, manning up, if you will, rising to the occasion. Um, I think she's seen him up until this point as very feeble, very human, very mortal, very, you know, like a piece of blanched chard or something, house plants, if you will. But I think seeing him push through the darkness and like call out and announce himself and declare it, I think that she's like, okay, maybe you do have a place here. Maybe this plan could work.
I think if we take the camera back into the occluded king's consciousness, I think we see you relatively normal looking, John, but you're in the costume of the knight again, and you're saying these things and you're believing these things, and the viscous material that was kind of giving you like a comforting shell, like kind of cradling you, starts to feel a lot closer now. Harder, as if it's trying to crush you. And reaching in and up your face, and you feel like the tendrils of darkness trying to sink into your features. What do you do?
Well, looking through my personal quarters items, I have a sword.
You do have a knight's costume, so why not? Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think just because my body is still effectively in two places at once.
Mm-hmm.
Liat, you see John almost in like a trance, like pull to his side the sword and draw it out. You recognize this sword as a sword that was used to try to kill you.
I think she smirks at that.
I think in this sort of viscous place, John is drawing that sword in a trying to fast manner and trying to swipe at the tendrils that are wrapping around, hardening, trying to strangle him, trying to choke him out.
Okay. And night move, please.
I'm afraid that I will die in this other place.
I think as you die, you will see your child completed. And worse is that your child is the one that is crushing you.
Okay, I am marking personal quarters item. Let's go. What's it with?
Oh, sorry. Sensitivity.
Oh, that's a good roll. That is a 13.
Nice. All right. You have narrative control.
I think just by the nature of the sword having some decent amount of length, Liat, just step back and it just sort of passes by you, like as though John himself is not targeting you, as though he's trying to do something else with it. In the sort of astral space, John is cutting these tendrils off one by one, sort of swimming through the ichor, swimming through the bolt folds, trying to climb his way out. He knows himself. He knows what he must do. He must free from this brain.
Can I make it weird?
Yes, please. I want to make it weirder.
Okay. So you're swinging this around, and I think, we're cutting back and forth between the real space with Liat, like trying to get out of the way, and then you inside the occluded king's space, trying to fight against the consciousness, trying to crush you. And I think it just goes back and forth until when you try to climb out and you're trying to bust out, I think this is where we see your hand shooting out of your mouth in the real world and then clawing at some kind of, invisible holds to be able to kind of move you out of the way and then essentially pull yourself out of it. Out of the wan, gaunt shell, wearing the crown, the Ichor crown, and you are basically being reborn.
Mm-hmm. I'm having a blast. I'm covered in blood. I'm covered in gore. And I have effectively a terrible, terrible idea because I know how to bring back the dead. Or at least I think so. Because this is a wonderful way of rebirthing people.
And Liat, you're seeing this. I mean, essentially, John has flopped out of John and is now on the stage, eyes back in his head, sword clattering next to him, like also covered in this substances. And Atticus, I think you do hear this clattering as you watch the surging blood flow towards the window and splash against it frustratingly. And Tommy Rawhead's silhouette, does a very sarcastic goodbye, farewell gesture and then ducks back into the darkness outside.
Is the king anywhere in sight?
I think those curtains that were undulating before back into place after this second act's light show, I think they have started to flutter again as these gigantic wings, and you get this aspect of this figure looming over the stage again, and then you realize that it is the shadow of the John Shell wearing the crown that looks like it is being a horrible echo of that scene. But the shadow remains, and again, it is looming large over all of you.
Okay. So it sounds like he's not quite there yet. So I think once John fully emerges from this husk
Mm-hmm.
with the sword in hand, um, she just sort of, has a wry grin on her face. But she'll say, well, look who decided to join us. Now, finish it. And if it's okay, I don't know what you want me to. I assume it'll be with sensitivity, but I think what I'd like to do, it's not really a move, so to speak, but I would like to try and maybe like, since we've established that she has a history of magic, using something to try and draw out and materialize the king so that we can end this.
Okay. You know what? Night move, because I mean, like, you're trying to enact your magic and you're risking, in this case, at this point, a lot.
Sure.
What will go wrong?
What could go wrong is the king will somehow embody me, or I will take over me, and I will be forced to fight John.
I don't know if it would be worse. There's two ways I want to do this, but I'm torn between the two. You're trying to draw him out. You're trying to draw out the
Trying to
accused
make him
king.
physical so that he could be killed.
Yeah.
Wouldn't the worst case scenario be that King in Shadows says, I'm gonna ditch this mortal body for an immortal body that can cast magic?
I mean, yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah. don't really know how to make that worse except for having the King in Shadows succeed over death, as well as,
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's worse. I think you could make it worse by having the king take over her body and making her body mortal. So John
Oh!
will still finish the king, but will in the process kill Liat.
Yep. Oh my god. Yeah, that sounds good.
So as part of this, I'm going to mark my shrine to the divine feminine goddess. And I think that it's not using the physical shrine, but rather something
Oh, yeah.
from it. Maybe
Sure.
maybe there were sigils or runes or something that were a part of it that she's using as part of the incantation that she's using to invoke the spell.
Well, you did say that your body is inscribed with these sigils of protection anyway. So I mean,
That
like,
is true, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
So would that be with advantage, or would it be just a flat roll because I have scheming as a condition?
Um,
I don't remember why I have scheming as a condition.
yeah, I forgot too. Shit. You're always scheming though.
I
you're
mean,
right.
I think it was like John who blamed you to like being like a scheming.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Mm, mm. Yeah, let's call it a flat roll. Because, like,
Okay.
we'll say that's a...
That is a 11.
Nice. All right, go ahead. Narrative control. Tell me how this looks as you use your magic to make the King in Shadows corporeal.
So I think that when she says that thing to John, and John is just sort of there, I imagine he's covered in the blood. He has the crown and he has a sword on, but he's like, it was fighting to get out of there. So his body is kind of taxed, and he's maybe breathing a little heavier, and he's uh, trying to get his strength back up. I think that in the process, Abdurrahman has come on stage, and she's extended her hand, one hand towards him, and another hand towards the sort of billowing, throbbing curtains that are kind of resembling the sort of leathery bat wings. And as she starts to intone the spell, the sand that makes up Abdurrahman's body starts to shift, and we see the shadows start to pull into one hand, and she draws curtains. They sort of coalesce, they dissolve and coalesce into this orb of swirling shadow, and she plunges it into Abdurrahman's sandy chest, and she makes Abdurrahman the host of the king so that he now inhabits a physical body that could be destroyed.
I think he tries to speak, but he can't because Abdurrahman can't speak.
And I think too, like this shadow, like because the power, like his body turns fully black, like obsidian.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But it's thrashing. Like there's parts of Abdurrahman that, he's keeping together, but then other parts that are grainy and trying to thrash around, uh, like he can't control them because there's something that's trying to get out or control him. So, yeah, Atticus, I think the Duke of Blood murmurs that, she can't, what's the
Oh,
word?
she already pieced out. She
Yeah.
went chasing after the beast.
Yeah.
I'm left between going to help the Duke with the beast or helping John and Liat in this situation.
I don't think you can help but notice that the shadow had loomed over the stage, and then, like, for some reason now it's not, and maybe when you turn you see that Liat has somehow corralled the billowing spirit into Abdurrahman. What do you do?
It's not my role. I'm like the one who's supposed to end this and give it a different ending is John. As much as Atticus would like to strike out and kill this thing, I still have the chorus role. All I can do is narrate. if there is a way for me to, is there a way for me to set up John narrate, and so the knight took forth the blade and struck it into the heart of the king, ending his reign once more, and sort of like give
Mhm.
advantage some way in.
Sure.
Okay, then that is what Atticus takes one long glimpse out that window where the beast is and turns back to the stage and says in a loud booming voice the narrating what John should be doing.
And so John does as he is told.
All right, let me go into the last prompt and then we're going to wrap this up. All right, so chaotic. Francis Ackerman has recently returned from the subcontinent. As he retires to the bedroom he has taken at the club, how do we see him drop his stern facade and express his vulnerability? And of course, how does reality subtly distort in the background?
I think he has said hello to his fellow compatriots, the people we've known for years and years. But once he's alone, truly alone, he breaks down, starts sobbing, crying. That sort of cry that's like heavy panting, like he can't get control over himself. He shouldn't be doing this, but he does anyway. He has lost so much. He has lost the people that he has loved, and there's no way for him to ever get it back. And I think the way that reality subtly shifts itself, because this story has been heard before, this story should have the same face as before. Instead, Francis Ackerman's face turns into the one of John Weiss.
Nice. So yeah, you hear these words, even in your shuddering, weakened state, John. What do you do? Liat has corralled, like Abdurrahman is like trying to keep it together, but like you can see like his grain, like some of the grain starting to fall off of him, and as he's trying to keep it together.
I strike through the heart, so the King of Shadows does not take part of this world.
What does that look like when you strike him through the heart?
I think at first the Durman sand starts to pour on out down slowly, but then the blade itself, it starts to turn into a dark color, a shadow, as though it is absorbing the king, absorbing in and deep. And I think this the blade itself is starting to burn John's hands because it is an evil thing. It is a bad thing. But I think looking around, we aren't in London anymore. We are in a field. Reality is breaking at its edges of like what's supposed to be, what's the right story being told. And I see a stone. And I think John rushes to that stone and tries to just stab it down into it so that no one could ever bring the King of Shadows into this realm.
There is a screech as you stab the stone and pierce the stone into it. I mean, pierce the sword into it, and it's like the creaking and the grinding of the metal as it stays. And there is a furious burning that happens, but it does not burn with natural flame. It burns with some kind of Icarus darkness. Maybe you hear a murmur, maybe you hear a roar, but whatever it is distant. And I think in this field, you not only find yourself there, John, but I think you also stare into the eyes of your companions who are also somehow there with you. Liat, still blood splattered, and maybe Abdurrahman as drifting grains of sand, and Sir Atticus, you are also splattered in blood, but you are looking on at your companion.
And I am proud. Very proud.
Liat, what do you think of this?
She's proud in the moment, for just a moment though, before realizing that she has to rebuild Abdurrahman again, and her couture dress is stained, and now she's back to being annoyed. Or I think she just sort of walks off the stage in a huff.
There's no longer any chorus. It is almost as if this society obscura has been cleared and cleaned, and the only light here is from various candles or lanterns that have been set around this now empty house. The audience has since left, or perhaps wandered off, not knowing what they were watching, what they remember. And we close out of The King in Shadows, as we call that resolved. And like a dork, I had not remembered to post some rewards ahead of time, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now into our Discord chat. Okay, which I will go ahead and read. All right. So, rewards. The Mask of Comedy. Narrate a flashback to a time you were ridiculed for defying the expectations of a social role you occupied. Mask of Tragedy. Narrate a flashback to a time you took pleasure in the suffering of someone else. There's a featureless gold mask from the Night Tap. Add it to your personal quarters. Your script has been rewritten. Unmark a mask of the future or clear a permanent condition. A memento from the investigation. Ask another hunter what it is and then add it to your personal quarters. What would you guys like?
It has to be Mask of the Future, correct?
That's what it says. Unmark a mask of the future or clear a permanent condition. Yes. I would take a mask, damn it.
Oh, so those are actual masks.
Yeah.
Oh, Mask of Comedy. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So, gonna call that. So go ahead and put that in your personal quarters for another time.
Yep.
Okay. Liat, John, what would you like for your reward?
I think the Mask of Tragedy kind of fits for Liat, so I'll take that.
Okay.
Yay, extra mask. I live another day.
God. John.
The other two don't really make sense for John because, like, I really haven't marked much in the terms of Mask of the Future or have a permanent condition. I also did not go to the Night Tap at all. So I would like a memento, please. From Sir Atticus.
You have a dented set of stage armor. It's dinged up. It's not quite as shiny as we would expect, but you know, if you need to be a knight, you got the equipment for it.
I think this is my second thing of like dented like noble quote unquote things because I have a dented tin of war medals. So this is just really funny.
Yeah, you are better than you think you are, is what everyone else is telling you.
You're so heroic. Damn it. Oh my gosh. Oh. And a secret was revealed, but we don't know what Liat's going to do with that information, if anything. That's so funny. Mm. Fun, fun, fun. All right. So let's go into Adventures. Finish night. Dawn. Yep. Collect rewards if the threat was resolved. Hell yeah. Answer dawn questions. So real quick, let's go through everybody. Dr. Weiss. Answered a question? Yes. Resolved a threat? Yes. Experienced an echo in the night?
Yes, quite literally an echo because
Yes.
John Weiss and John Weiss.
Yep. Did you put your hands in a pile of guts and love every minute of it?
Kind of a weird thing, but I did get put into the guts of the king in shadow effectively with the
Yeah.
description.
Yeah, I tried to give you as much viscera as possible. Did you have a conversation with the child while no one was looking?
Nope, did not talk to my child.
Okay. All right, so take those points and then clear your dawn questions after you add that to your XP track. All right. Liat. Hunters answered question. Hunters resolved a threat. Did you experience an echo in the night?
I tried to with setting up the murder of the king, but if it was too vague, I get it.
No, I'll take it. Because I mean, like, yeah, I mean, like, you are all trying to figure out your way through this panoply
Specifically,
of...
like the murder of a monster's king. 'Cause,
Yes.
like the king I described as being like gross looking.
Yeah, it's fine. Because I mean, again, he was going to be something more than just, a part in a play. So that's fine. Did you appear in London society wearing risque or avant-garde fashion? Yeah, I'm
Should
pretty
say
sure.
so.
Yep. Did you secretly show a vulnerable side to someone? And remember, I mean, include the whole cycle, right? So I mean, like,
I don't remember anything about the last session. But
like, was it last session where you were soothing that old lady who got hit by the carriage?
yeah, but I think that was me. That was Liat sort of like being cheeky. I don't think she was being like genuine about it. I think she just wanted to see her die.
Okay.
But no, my reasoning for it would be the sort of encouragement towards John, like not her berating him in the beginning of the session, but more like when they were on the stage and like
Yes.
her trying to like coach him out.
Okay. Alrighty. Take that. And then take those points. Clear your dawn questions after you've added them to the XP track. And then Sir Atticus Wellington-Hughes the fourth. Answer question, resolved a threat. Experience an echo on the night?
Hey, get away from me! Playfully. Get away from me! Absolutely terrified of being murdered with the sword. I did that one.
Okay. Revel in the thrill of the hunt.
Yeah, that one was marked before this session, so I figured that we did it.
Yeah, you probably
previously.
Like, did you curse your family's name?
Not this time.
Surprisingly.
I'm capped out at experience.
Yeah. It's just fun to see if you hit the marks, that's all.
Right?
Fine. I mean, if you really want to be ironic about it, especially since you're not worried about XP, I mean, you may want to try one of the other ones that are kind of harder to hit.
Go unnoticed in a public place. And then go for the class. Did you tell someone why their plans are poorly? Absolutely. Atticus is not the kind to be like, you know what you're doing is foolish and incorrect, right? No.
I mean, you could try for it, but I'm just saying.
Absolutely,
I mean, like, because you could just goof on this shit, like, right now. You don't have to worry about XP and like trying to advance, so it's okay.
You're right.
It's all good. Yep. Okay. Let's see. Any playbook or custom? Yeah, go ahead and mark new elective dawn questions if you want to. Any playbook or custom moves that are resolved during dawn? Okay, so you didn't do night work. But resurrectionists, while you were doing all the shenanigans in the theater, did you have Harley look for stuff? for you.
Yes, I can't remember what for.
Well, I
it's-
mean, like, I know you said no blowback, so
Yeah.
I do remember that distinctly. So, yeah, just pick a part and just, like
Yeah.
if you want to narrate it with one of your with the mask of the past, then you can totally do so.
Oh yeah, because I don't think I would find this part normally. So yeah, I'll find a body part.
What did they find for you tonight?
Sex organs.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Awesome. I know. Yeah. It's the best when you get to find those. So if you want to incorporate that in your mask of the past, which you still owe, you totally can, or the mask of dissociation. So, you and Liat have choice. Well, no, I should say, yeah, you have choice, and Liat can also do that as well, since mask of dissociation covers all of you, and of course, Sir Atticus, you have that as well to narrate. So, any Janus mask prompts that remain unresolved. So let's go ahead and take care of those. Who wants to start?
If it's okay, I'd like to do my next session.
Sure. Okay. So that's Liat, Atticus, John. Okay.
Yeah, I think I need to do mine because effectively I owe 3.
Mask of the past, dissociation.
And the body part.
Yes.
I can do mine.
Okay.
He remembers that the fight was short. It was an ambush. He wasn't expecting it. Although, reflecting on it, he should have suspected. His father let go of the argument a bit too soon when it came up with the usual discussion of an heir. Waking up bare on the medical table, cold steel beneath him, bindings and everything else holding him in place. He felt just the cold and nothing below his neck. And aside from the cutting of metal into flesh, he could just hear the berating. The thing that stuck out the most was an absolute waste of flesh. If you won't use it, might as well lose it. Control, as any gelded beast. And we leave it there. Have we mentioned that the third is the worst?
Yeah. No, we've mentioned that several times, but really, at this point, I'm just like, good thing that some bitch died. You know what I mean? It's like, damn.
I would bring him back just to kill him again.
Oh my god. Oh.
Don't worry, there is one being that killed him.
Fun.
Yes.
Fun. Okay.
Oh.
Oh no, I'm having some really bad ideas right now. But okay.
Mm-hmm.
Beast has killed every other Atticus Wellington-Hughes.
Yes.
Yep.
Damn.
You're
Damn.
welcome.
Yes.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
We're gonna have a fun time with that. But
Yes.
yeah, I have mine idea for my stuff is just terrible, but it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
John Weiss has perfectly normal feelings about his personal relationships. I think it's sometimes odd to be sort of a memory of being in bed, just sort of feeling a bit worthless as the person next to you is not the person that you care most for in life. You do your obligations, of course, being the proper husband that you're supposed to be, but it's only a natural body reaction at that point. But only even earlier in the day, you were with the person that you care most about, Dimitri. Just a sort of a conversation here and there. It was just meant to be like just a little bit of fun, just talking about things, talking about ballet performances, talking about studies and science. It was just meant to be a conversation. But conversations turned into sort of innuendos, different types of conversations with lips that kiss very gently, with hands that move very finely. And trying to keep hitting away where, well, people won't gossip because, like, you don't need that in your life. Because, well, what doesn't. Your wife shouldn't really be found out about the affairs you have. But it's all right. Things could be stable for now. Nothing has to change. Nothing should change. It's all right. Even though it sometimes doesn't feel all that great.
I imagine that's your mask of the past.
Yes, that is my mask of the past, and my sex organs, and the mask of disassociation, because that's wrapped it all nicely.
Okay. Very cool. All right. Yeah, given that Jack has to leave a little bit early, let's go ahead and buzz through Stars and Wishes. Jack, if you want to go first before you have to go, just in case, like, we don't like wrap it up really quickly.
Yeah, no, totally. Thank you. Sorry for the thing,
No.
but anyway, yeah, really good to be back. So just overall star to get back with you all. Been missing this, been missing y'all. So despite us not remembering anything, I think we did pretty well. Yeah, no, I liked Kerek, that you put John in this position of uncertainty, of it was really interesting to see this sort of phase of him like struggling to embody what this role was. I think many people would have just sort of like fallen into the role, but I think that it was really interesting to see that conflict of like, I'm not ready to take this on, and like, why am I the person for this job? And I thought you handled that really, really nicely. Atticus, I thought it was really cool of you to bring the Duke in, and I love the way that you brought her in with like killing off the entire chorus and essentially creating a portal for her to come in. Because I imagine she's a lot of blood for to manifest. And so you did that. And then yeah, Mads, thank you for making the transition back here, giving us room to sort of explore our different approaches. I like the little like, not like, I like that you were able to like sort of piggyback off of the things that we were throwing in earlier in session, like with Guinevere and the whispering. I thought that was really nice. Wish is to, now that we've got the King in Shadows done, we've got to take good care of the beast, and we've got to get rid of the queen. So yeah, let's go.
Still have the St. Petersburg mirror to worry about.
Oh damn, I totally forgot about that.
Yep.
Honestly, compared with the universe ending like Cthulhu play and John Carpenter's The Thing in Victorian London, the spy thriller with a mirror is kind of low stakes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna break the mirror and I'm done.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
Pettigrew's like, but what of the secret spy ring? We're like, bro, we got bigger problems. Did you know that there's a vampire queen?
Details. No, just elbows of
Details.
there.
No,
The
you sent him off
blackmail!
to take care of
Yeah.
send him to take
Yeah.
care of the St. Petersburg.
Yeah, I mean, he's a servant. I'll just have him deal with it. It's fine.
Pettigrew, chop chop. This is
Yeah.
the big this is the
Get
big
on
thing that all of London PD is working on.
Yeah, go take care of that. Then give me a coffee afterwards.
Oh my god.
I can jump in with stars. Star as well, chaotic, for your depiction of John having stage fright, dealing with that thing that all actors have to deal with, getting into a role, and then eventually just like pulling it off just with the power of friendship, which I was not really expecting. Credit to Jack for having Liat be a team player this time, aside from being true to your character, being the Waldorf and Statler, those two puppets from the Muppets, just catcalling at not catcalling,
Heckling.
heckling. Thank you.
Heckling.
That's the word. Heckling the audience, heckling your fellow players for not doing their job, and then eventually saying, "Fine, I'll do it myself," and then still not stealing the kill, setting up John to do it, and sacrificing Abdurrahman. That's a pain in the butt. You're gonna have to fix that. But it was for the team.
Yeah. Yeah, I was genuinely expecting that you were going to use my X body like as like the sort of thing to like put the King in Shadows in, but no, Abdurrahman.
It's character development. It's incremental, but it's character development. Liat might actually care about us just like a little bit because she got really mad after the stabbing was done. So like, who knows? And then Mads, my biggest star for you was bringing the beast in on that heavy miss from John and just being like, "Welcome to the club, become one with the swarm." It's like, oh no, oh, this is so much worse than what I was expecting. I'm glad that John marked a mask, although it would have been immensely rad to have to also fight another one of Chaotic's characters as a bad guy. Wish. I want to come up with a solution for the mirror during the next session. Just full on investigation, bide our time so we can go into the fragrant void and kill the beast.
I mean, it looks like, unless I'm wrong, I mean, it looks like you have enough clues to be able to take care of the mirror. It's just a matter of doing it.
Yeah, it's technically, do we want the mirror as a sort of reward? That's
Yes.
like we could like find one or two more clues and then be perfectly done.
We could do that during day phase. I even have the thing that says avoid notice. Perfect for being a big burly British spy man. That's in my wheelhouse of skills, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, I gotta give a star for Liat for sacrificing Abdurrahman. I also have to give a star for Mads for having me crawl out of my own body. I did not see that coming, and I loved every moment of it. Also, star for Sir Atticus just summoning the Duke of Blood anyways. Like that's fun. Well, we need more shenanigans in this play right now, and we're gonna have all the help we can get. And a star for the mask because oh god, that was horrifying, and I really hate your dad. The worst. I'm glad he's dead, but I would kill him again.
Yeah. Me too.
Oh my god. Wish?
Wish, just have some vulnerable moves. Just have a little chat about like what went down. Maybe have talks about like feelings and stuff. Not like who knows, because like we're there's stuff going on, and I can't tell what it is, but there's stuff going on. Also, my child. Liat knows my child. I'm so scared. Don't threaten.
That'll be
my
a
child.
fun.
Yeah.
That'll be a fun vulnerable scene.
Oh my gosh. Oh boy.
Yeah, I will note one of my Dawn questions is, did someone pay attention while I showed physical affection towards my child? So,
Oh man, she finds your basement room. Oh my god. So, holy crap. Stars for you, Chaotic, for just like, starting off like, with the slow burn and then the rhythmic the rhyming thing in the beginning. I'm sorry. I'm feeling very silly about my literary knowledge at the moment. But yeah, I mean, like, that was really cool. Like, and to building up into your essentially having stage fright and then building out of that and trying to climb out of the muck that you found yourself in. um yeah, I thought that was great. And then, like, you being able to figure it out at the end, um to be able to make it work, um turning into a noble type of character. Who knows? We will have to see. And then Sir Atticus with just mayhem, just like allowing the possibility of mayhem to happen and just, going for it and giving me the excuse to bring in the Duke of Blood. I mean, I didn't have to, but I mean, like, the Society Obscura, the pools of blood. I mean, like, all you're doing is creating that wonderful portal invitation of like, hey, come and visit. Yeah. And then Liat, of course. I mean, yeah, I wasn't expecting you to bring like Guinevere back into it, so I thought that was very interesting, like, wanting to have some sort of well, I mean, it is a tie because you killed her after or during a performance of the King in Shadows. Um, and the Queen of Hearts threatened you with her and such. So, I mean, like, interesting callback for this particular episode. And then, you know, also hearing what the Queen of Hearts was saying and then not answering me. I'm just very curious to see what that answer would have been about, how do you feel about the underworld? Having never perhaps traversed it before or near it. Um, and so wish would be to try and wrap up the last two threats and then see how you guys handle the mastermind threat. As usual, it'll probably be a twofer, like a two-shot, but this is going to be really it's a free-for-all. It's going to be very chaotic, and it's going to be a free-for-all. So let's see how you wrap up the last two threats, and then how you deal with each other. I'm curious to see if Sir Atticus is going to make it. If he makes it, fantastic. If he doesn't, okay.
I'm gonna
I
cry.
theoretically could make it all the way to the end,
Yeah.
but there is this tiny itty little caveat about, like, the moment the beast dies, I am a servant of Liat. That kind of complicates matters.
I also would like to throw this out there as a star. Just a general echo, the like thematic echo between Liat being concerned about Guinevere and John literally creating the sword in the stone. I just love that sort of thing. So like that's a I'm just so curious about like where John and Liat's relationship is going to go next.
Yeah. Yeah. They have an interesting dynamic, and I mean, I love John kind of being like the sidekick slash, oh, there's something there between him and Sir Atticus. But then this dynamic between Liat and John, it's like there is something there too, and I'm not sure what it is, how Liat feels. So yeah, I'll be interested to see if we get more glimmers of that too for next time and future sessions. So we'll see. Oh my gosh. We're just barreling down the journey. Oh my gosh. Okay. Not gonna keep you any further. Jack's gotta go. So we'll see you next week, barring any other weirdness happening or what have you. And yeah, just be ready for day phase. Whatever that entails. Alrighty. You guys have a wonderful night, and I will see you next time. Happy gaming! Bye.